Well, hello there. It's Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. Happy Hump Day, everybody, and happy pre-Easter to those of you who celebrate the holiday. God is good. Amen. I'm going to bring you two stories in this live. The main story is pertaining to the terror that happened in the subway on 36th Street in New York City. The suspect or person of interest, however you want to word it, basically they've named a guy by the name of Frank R. James in connection to the said crimes that took place in that subway yesterday morning in New York City. I will bring you that said information second, but my first information will be pertaining to Sherri Papini. This is a crazy bat out of California who exacted a faux hoax of being kidnapped, stayed gone for about 3 weeks, resurfaced. Years later, the district attorney's office brought forth said charges against Miss Papini that she faked her own kidnapping. Hello, Sherri. Thank you so much for joining me. So I will be bringing two sets of information in this live. If you need verification, there will be a source, and any audio played is on my community post via YouTube. Thank you so very much for joining me. Let's get started with Miss Papini. One second. Thank you all for joining me. Okay.
And running mom Sherri Papini admits she faked her 2016 kidnapping. The admission comes as part of a plea deal. Thanks for staying with us at 5 o'clock. I'm Curtis Mick.
And I'm Elizabeth Kling. Our news is also streaming live on CBS News Sacramento right now. In a statement, Papini apologizes and said she's ashamed by her behavior.
CBS 13's Madison Keevy has been working this story all afternoon long. She's live outside the U.S. Attorney's Office in Sacramento. And Madison, I know you've been in touch with Papini's attorney's office. What are they sharing with you?
Right, really, they're just sharing that statement that has been written on and shared on behalf of Papini. This was the first time that we've heard from her since these charges have come out. She said that she was ashamed by her behavior. She was sorry to those friends, family, and others who were so hurt by her story. When Sherri Papini was released from the Sacramento jail last month, she was met with questions from reporters. We wanted an explanation of her story, one that was a hoax, according to federal prosecutors who outlined in court documents Papini planned and participated in her own fake kidnapping. Today, she agreed to plead guilty to one count of making false statements to the FBI about her disappearance and one count of mail fraud.
I remember pointing it out to my brother and just saying, there's no way. There's no way that she's missing. She is perfectly fine. I guarantee it.
Last month, Papini's ex-boyfriend shared his memories of the woman he used to date more than a decade ago. He wanted to stay anonymous, but shared how he saw Papini years before her hoax kidnapping that made national headlines.
She definitely has a compulsive lying habit.
Wow.
As for what Papini owes due to multiple investigations into her disappearance, the numbers are staggering. She owes more than $30,000 to the California Victims Compensation Board and more than $127,000 to the U.S. Social Security Administration. As for those law enforcement investigations, she owes more than $148,000 to the Shasta County Sheriff's Office and more than $2,000 to the FBI. Outlined in court documents, all monetary penalties, including this restitution, will be due in full immediately at the time of sentencing and can be enforced by the government. Her ex-boyfriend's take on the hoax?
She has clearly serious issues.
Now, on that specific mail fraud charge, we have got some questions about what that specifically means. In this case, it's that she knowingly participated in an action that could actually bring her money. We talked about what she owes to the State Victims Board there, and that charge in and of itself holds a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, as well as a $250,000 fine, max fine there in that. All of those types of things will be decided when she has her day in court.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. One moment. Just a second, you guys. Okay. Let me step away for just 1 second, you guys. Gotta take care of something, and I'll be right back. Thank you all for joining me. Just 1 minute, please. All righty, thanks for waiting. Had to take an important phone call. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you for your patience. All right, let's chop up what's been said in this commentary. Miss Papini, you have been a naughty, naughty girl. Let's talk about the ex-boyfriend who did not show his face in this video. Wow. He said she was a compulsive liar when he dated her. So now we have to ask, how long did he date her? How long was it into the relationship? Did he notice Papini as a pathological liar? You see, this is something I've noticed about people who exact these type of crimes, these sociopaths, some psychopaths. They have the propensity to lie. They've been lying for some time. It's just a matter of who's going to call them out on their lies. But a lot of people who exact these type of fake crimes, kidnapping, stalking, somebody's bothering them, all type of crazy foolishness. They've been lying a very long time. And I have dealt with, briefly in my lifetime, as I've told you all in my commentary, of a classmate, Caucasian male who I was friends with in high school. He was a pathological liar. He lied all the time. So one would say if he was lying at the age of about 16 years old, 9 times out of 10, he's probably still lying. And that's a terrible thing to say about another human being. It's not that you can't change, but some behaviors are probably very hard to stop because it too is an addiction, lying. The person has something deep rooted inside that they feel the need to spin stories. And that's usually how it starts out. And it usually starts in childhood. The spinning of stories, webs, white lies, and then they become just outright lies. So we use the word stories for children. Well, he's just telling a story. She's just telling a story. But when you become an adult, you're a liar. Just cut to the chase. He's known to lie. She's known to lie. You can't believe anything he says. You've heard people say that about certain individuals. Oh, you can't believe nothing he says. He lies all the damn time. She lies all the time. That's a terrible thing to say about a human being. They lie all the time. I can get it that you may not want to tell the truth about certain things in your personal life to a stranger or people who are meddling and poking in your business. You might lie about something because you don't want people to know certain things about you, possibly the truth about certain things. But I'm talking about just waking up and spin a lie. Someone calls your phone and you start out, yeah, I went to the gym and I did this and I did this, and you never went anywhere. And sometimes people lie because of the type of lifestyle they have. Maybe they don't have a fruitful life, sustaining life, and they don't want people to know that they're ho-hum, not really active in the world. So they make up stuff. But see, it's very dangerous when you start making up stuff because once people call you out on it, how can they ever trust you? And I'm telling you, Lying leads to other crimes. And I think most of you know this who have watched true crime, people who have been arrested for fraudulent behavior, such as scamming people with money, taking things from others, attempted murder, putting hits out on people. Those people were liars beforehand. And it's not saying that a liar will become a murderer. Let me make that clear. But those who have murdered more than once, let's say, such as a serial killer, I think 9 times out of 10, he had been lying for some time in his life. And Ms. Papini is that said person. And the fact that the Victims Board of California wants their due money back, you're damn right. They deserve every damn dollar back. Because you and your husband took that money. Your husband took that money while you were still missing, playing house with your little boyfriend while you were hiding out, pretending to be a victim. And your husband spent some of that money and put it in his account. Took that money before you even returned. It's a very diabolical scheme. She's out playing house with a boyfriend, trying to get empathy from the world. The husband takes the money from the Victims Board, California, puts it in his account, their account. Voila, she pops up 3 weeks later, still playing the role as a victim. So yes, you owe the state of California all that damn money back. You owe the state of California an apology. You owe the city an apology, your family, your friends, your children. And the sick part is she's somebody's mother. Let's address that. She's somebody's wife, a liar, somebody's mother, a lying mother, a civilian. She's diabolical. She, to me, is the worst kind because she's walking, breathing next to you, pretending to be half-assed nice. People like that, you can't trust. Period. You can't leave valuables out, your purse out, tell her anything. I wouldn't trust her with a pet, not even a goldfish, because she's dangerous. Because my thing is, have you learned your lesson? Or did you just get caught and then apologized to the general public about what you did? You're so sorry, you're ashamed of yourself. Well, you should be ashamed of yourself because it's one thing to be a pathological liar, but what you did was ridiculous and heinous because one, as I said, you're a mother and a wife and you had your family worried about you. Your children were worried about you. Imagine being her children, worried about their mother, thinking their mother has abandoned them, left, dead. All types of crazy things go through your head when someone is missing. And you were playing house with an ex-boyfriend. Now, I don't know which boyfriend this is that spoke, but she did stay with an alleged ex-boyfriend during her 3-week hiatus, pretending to be a kidnapped victim. Yes, she just got caught. She's like many people. The apologies only come after the evidence has been rendered. And I do find it interesting that the state of California brought forth this case many moons later, because I believe this is like a 6-year making of a case. And to me, I don't see why it would take that long to gather evidence of phone calls, phone logs, text messages, social media posts, tracking of where she was, wasn't. Cell phone should be evidence number one. Did she keep the same cell phone when she vanished? But naturally, she'd be a fool to do that because her husband naturally would track the phone, have the phone tracked, and then law officials would be able to track the phone to the said location of where she was hiding out. So then they know, well, it's been active since you reported her missing. She's been using it. So possibly she threw out her original phone, purchased another phone. This heifer is diabolical. I'm telling you, she's not worth dating. She's not worth being somebody's parent because you can't rear children if you are a liar. I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel about it. You can't rear children if you are known to just lie. How are you going to rear a child and you lie all the damn time? Can't tell the truth about anything. So she deserves to pay the Victims Board back their money to the state of California. The police department investigated the crime and anybody else she schemed, scammed along the way. She's facing more time for taking the money from the victims board than the actual crime itself. She's also, I believe, pleading guilty to 1 count per mail fraud. I'm going to read you that said information. Thank you for joining me. It's very diabolical. amp.www.complex.com is the source. Sherri Papini agrees to plead guilty over California kidnapping hoax. A California woman who was arrested last month on charges including making false statements to federal law enforcement in connection with the kidnapping hoax has signed a plea deal. Sherri Papini, 39, has agreed to plead guilty to making materially false statements to FBI agents and committing mail fraud based on her being a kidnapping victim, U.S. Attorney Philip A. Talbert said on Tuesday. In a U.S. District Court, criminal information also filed on Tuesday. Papini was charged with a total of 34 counts of mail fraud and 1 count of making false statements. Under the terms of the deal, she will plead guilty to 1 count each of mail fraud and making false statements. So there are a total of 34 counts of mail fraud that she was charged with, making false statements as well. Under the terms of the deal, she will plead guilty to 1 count each of mail fraud. That's a lot of counts. In a statement shared with the Associated Press through attorney William Portanova, Papini said she was deeply ashamed of what she had done. I'm deeply ashamed of myself for my behavior and so very sorry for the pain I've caused my family, friends, all the good people who needlessly suffer because of my story and those who work so hard to try to help me, Papini said. I will work the rest of my life to make amends for what I have done. The Sacramento Bee was first to report the plea deal. Papini was initially reported missing November 2016, spurring a number of search efforts in the Shasta County area of California and elsewhere. Later that same month, Papini was found in Yolo County, initially telling law enforcement that she had been abducted and held by 2 Hispanic women at gunpoint. As the investigation moved forward, it was soon determined that Papini had lied and had instead been staying with an ex-boyfriend. She had also given herself injuries in an effort to back up the fabricated story of having been kidnapped. It's not currently known when Papini will formally enter her plea. She currently faces a maximum of 5 years behind bars, $250,000 fine in connection with making false statements charged. The mail fraud count, meanwhile, carries a maximum of 20 years, as well as its own fine up to $250,000. Let me repeat. The mail fraud count, which she's charged with 34 of them, carries a maximum of 20 years and its own fine of $250,000. That's not including what the victims board is suing her for. The AP report, however, notes that prosecutors have agreed to recommend a lower sentence for Papini, with the publication stating that the current estimate is between 8 and 14 months. Also called for in the plea deal is hundreds of thousands of dollars in restitution. Complex is the source. So here you have a very crazy story of a woman who obviously had been in contact with her ex-boyfriend, possibly before. So let's ask that question. How long has she been in contact with the ex-boyfriend? Has she been having outside entanglements with him before running off to stay with him? Or was it just spur of the moment, this plan to get attention? What was she going through? What was wrong with her? Is she mentally ill, schizophrenic? What the hell's wrong with this chick? Why would you do this to your family? You were so miserable, distraught, what? Physically abused, mentally abused, what? Unhappy, what? Didn't want to be a mother anymore, what? Facing financial troubles, what? Just plain unhappy, bitter, what? Join the rest of us, Cookie. Many of us want a Calgon moment where we can just escape, walk away with one little bag, never come back, go into another place, realm of living. I escape every day in my own mind. It's a great coping mechanism. Besides going off the deep end, suicidal, homicidal, I just get in my own mind and escape. Hello, Kevin B. Thank you for joining me, sweetheart. I just escape in my own damn mind. Sometimes that's what you have to do. She injured herself. So this lets you know how crazy she is. You think I'm getting ready to put any cuts on this body? Big girl don't like pain. Let me make that clear to you. This big girl don't like no damn pain. So I ain't about to cut myself, make you cut me, strangle me, tie me up, or nothing. Or not now, not never. See, this when you know your mind is warped, that you would injure yourself or allow someone to injure you to prove a point down the road, which is to show that she was allegedly abducted. Let's talk about the 2 Hispanic women she allegedly implicated, which did not exist, don't exist. So now you want to start a race war, another Susan Smith. Some black guy stole my babies. Now in this case, it's 2 Hispanic women. Casey Anthony, same thing. Zanny the nanny, Hispanic nanny, babysitter. You're just ridiculous. Why it had to be 2 Hispanic women that took you, put a gun to your head? So let's just say it was 2 Hispanic women that kidnapped her. Let's play make-believe for just a second. What the hell would they want with you, girl? What the hell would they want with you? 2 Hispanic women want what from you? What did you have for somebody to kidnap you, hold you hostage for 3 weeks? Hypothetically, which we now know is a lie. But just saying. Kevin, be nice. Well, there's nobody here modding. It's just the queen today. You know, it's slow motion these days. Most people are working and doing things. Just sad that you were this miserable that you would lie on your own self and you're somebody's mother. Well, Persephone, that's what I'm saying. She knew it would be more believable because that's the type of world we live in. Sadly, if I name 2 brown people, people would possibly believe it. I'm a white woman. I want to say 2 brown people kidnapped me. Who's going to say she was lying? But the one guy in the interview did say he knew she was lying because he had already dealt with her. And he said he knew that she was lying because when he dated her, she was a liar. So who better to tell the truth about who you are than somebody who has slumbered with you and know your ways? See, this is what I tell you about people. A lot of people may not tell your business until something pops off down the road. So this is the pop off, and he's now talking. He was hidden by the camera with his back to the camera, but he told it. She was just a liar when I dated her. That's all she's lied. She lies. Tell lies. Sherri Papini, I pray they give you the max because it's time for the courts to stop giving plea deals and letting people get shorter time for the havoc they cause, rather. You need to do every damn day that's recommended. But I know you're not because they offered you a plea. And your lawyer probably told you to go on since they brought forth charges 6 or so years later. Go on and just tell the truth. You did what you did. Tell them you'll take a plea. You'll do a couple of years. You'll be out. But who the hell's going to want you? Because if I was a man, I wouldn't want to look at you. You're going to owe all these people all this money. A couple of $100,000 here, $100,000 there. You'll never have anything. Because you and your husband are liable for that victim's board money because he willingly put that money in his bank account, the account that you 2 shared. You're guilty. Very sick. All right, everybody. The story of the hour, New York City. Frank R. James, where are you? Bad boy, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Frankie, what is your problem? What did the city of New York do to you? What did the great people of New York City do to you for you to decide to go into a train car and throw grenades inside of there, smoke bombs rather, and shoot 10 people who did not know you, hadn't done anything to you, allegedly? Got these people running, stumbling over each other. And as somebody said in a comment section of one of the news channels, where was the shooter at while the people were running out of the train car? And I commented back, yeah, I agree. Where was he? Yeah, where were you, Frank? If you're indeed the shooter, where were you while the people were running out of the train car? Because I'm trying to figure that out myself. You slid up into that subway, geared up, put on a gas mask, I believe, when you entered the car. Nobody had any idea what was about to transpire yesterday in New York City. And by the grace of God, nobody is deceased from your gun violence. And it said in the commentary I brought you last night that New York City has an uptick of crime as of late. A few years ago, New York hadn't had a lot of complaints of violence. It's a very small city on an island. Many people think New York City is big because that's the nickname, the Big Apple, but it is not. New York is not that big. The state is not even big at all if you have ever looked at the map. New York is no way in comparisons a big state nor a big city. It's just a bunch of people piled on top of each other in apartment buildings. That's it. Just a bunch of people on a little tiny island. And on the fateful day yesterday, people were going about their business in this little bitty city, which is so big in the eye of the beholder. Minding their business, going to school, going to work, going out, paying bills. And your miserable ass decided to board the train to wreak havoc. What's your problem, Frank? What did the city of New York do to you? What is it about the homeless people that you like, don't like? What did the mayor do to you directly, sir? What's your problem? You see, you have a lot of people who are very bitter and miserable, and Frank R. James is that guy. When I heard he was 5'5", I just couldn't stop laughing to myself. The little doughboy that could. Yeah, I'm talking about you, and I hope you're listening, because I know you're a coward. And I know 9 times out of 10, you're going to either kill yourself or bang, bang when they approach you, because there's no way you want to do time. No way you want to go into a New York jail, because I hear the jails in New York are not nice, especially in the inner city, such as Rikers Island. Not a pretty place to spend your first few, months, years before trial. You'll probably cry yourself to sleep every night if they don't beat you to damn death in there. 5'5", 170 pounds. You's a little porker, are you not? I'm a big girl myself, but I ain't 5'5". I saw you kind of waddling, walking down the street, pulling your little cart, your makeshift destruction cart. Gee, can you even walk, Mr. Frank? I'm not being kind to you today because I don't have to be, because you could have had those people dead yesterday. And you're another problem that we don't need here in America. Somebody that's bitter and mad at the world, angry, want to lash out at everybody with a pulse. I'll show them who I am. Well, indeed you did, Frank R. James. 60-plus-year-old man, miserable as fuck. Barely can walk, waddling down the damn street with a cart, lugging all this stuff down into the subway to wreak havoc. For what reason? Reasons. Absolutely nothing. Just a petty F-U-C-K. You're just bitter and you're miserable. And I hope they find you, and I hope you don't kill yourself, because I want you to sit your little fat self in jail. And I want you to get real comfortable in there. I want you to get real comfortable. Don't kill yourself, sir. Please, don't kill yourself. Because I want you to tell us why you did this. Because a lot of people don't talk when they do crimes like this, because usually they don't live. They usually kill themselves. So I want you to preserve your life so we can hear why you decided to go in that subway and wreak havoc on the citizens of New York, because they deserve better than what you gave them yesterday morning. I'm going to go ahead and read you all the latest information. Note that this is an ever-evolving story. Information will change at a given moment because a manhunt is underway for Frank R. James. This was uploaded at 12:25 today. New York City police are still hunting for a gunman who opened fire on a rush hour subway train in Brooklyn, shooting 10 people. The alleged shooter, identified by the New York City Police Department, is 62-year-old Frank Robert James. It was initially deemed a person of interest in the investigation before being named a suspect Wednesday morning, which is today. At this time, based on the preliminary investigation, we believe he was alone. New York City Mayor Eric Adams told ABC News in an interview Wednesday on Good Morning America. Law enforcement sources told ABC News that police now have probable cause to arrest James for the attempted murder of 10 people, a determination made overnight after more than 18 hours of investigation that included video, cell phone data, and interviews with witnesses. The U.S. Marshal Service has joined the search for James, who is now considered a wanted fugitive, along with other federal and local agencies. There is a bulletin posted from the police department of the city of New York. It is a flyer with 2 photographs of a Mr. Frank R. James. It says, wanted for attempted murder, perpetrator, probable cause to arrest. Frank James, male, black, 62 years of age. I can barely read his date of birth on this paper, but it basically gives you the rundown of what happened yesterday, April 12th, approximately 8:25 hours. The above pictured perpetrator is wanted in connection. Transit shooting investigation confines of 72 PCT. Anyone with information, please contact the 72 Precinct Detective Squad. Perpetrator is considered armed and dangerous. Contact Detective Anthony Biondolillo at 718-965-6336. Once again, 718-965-6336, or Detective Bureau Brooklyn South at 718-287-3239. The active shooter incident unfolded on a Manhattan-bound in subway car during the Tuesday morning commute just before 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As the train approached the 36th Street subway station in Brooklyn's Sunset Park neighborhood, according to police, a man mumbling to himself on the train donned a gas mask and detonated a smoke canister before pulling out a handgun and firing at least 33 bullets. A police official told ABC News 3 teenagers were among the 10 people shot. The gun jammed during the incident, which is believed to have saved lives, a law enforcement official told ABC News. Smoke poured out of the subway car, the doors opened, and screaming riders ran out to the platform of the station. Bloody people were seen lying on the floor of the train and the platform as others attempted to administer aid. 29 people suffered various injuries, hospital officials said. As of Wednesday morning, just 4 of the wounded remain hospitalized, according to the mayor. Amen. A wanted poster released by police Wednesday morning described James as armed and dangerous. At this time, we still do not know the suspect's motivation, New York City Police Commissioner Keisha Sewell said at a press conference Tuesday. I believe it's Keyshawn, excuse me. Clearly, this individual boarded the train and was intent on violence. A senior federal law enforcement source told ABC News that authorities are concerned the shooting showed a level of planning and commitment to kill scores of commuters during rush hour. When you open up this article of abcnews.go.com, you will see someone standing over a wounded party in the subway train. Senior law enforcement officials told ABC News that they have uncovered a number of social media posts and videos tied to James and are studying them closely to see if they are relevant to the subway attack. Sewell says she increased security for the mayor after investigators found what she called concerning posts, but declined to call them threats. There are some postings possibly connected to our person of interest where he mentions homelessness. He mentions New York, and he does mention Mayor Adams, Sewell told reporters Tuesday. As a result of that, in abundance of caution, we're going to tighten the mayor's security detail. you can please go to my video uploaded last night in the queue where I played the press conference pertaining to the information I'm reading to you right now. Police said James rented a U-Haul van possibly connected to the violence. The key to the van and credit card, which law enforcement sources told ABC News was used to rent a U-Haul, were among the gunman's possessions recovered from the scene of the shooting. James had rented the same van in Philadelphia, according to police. Police said the U-Haul van was found Tuesday afternoon, unoccupied and parked near a subway station on Kings Highway in Brooklyn's Gravesend neighborhood, about 5 miles southeast of 36th Street Station. Nothing of investigative interest was discovered in the vehicle, apart from a pillow and other indications that James had been living inside, a law enforcement source told ABC News. Wow, that's interesting. Other items discovered at the scene of the shooting include the Glock 9mm semi-automatic handgun used in the attack, 3 extended magazines, a hatchet, gasoline, 4 smoke grenades, and a bag of consumer-grade fireworks. The gun wasn't stolen, according to police. None of the surveillance cameras inside the 36th Street subway station were working at the time of Tuesday's shooting, a police official told ABC News. The cameras, which are aimed at the turnstiles, didn't transmit in real time due to a glitch computer malfunction, a source said. The same glitch impacted cameras at the stops before and after 36th Street. Investigators said they are looking into how this malfunction happened. Convenient, or has this been a problem in New York before he went on his shooting rampage? Were the cameras working at one time before yesterday? Somebody's going to have to address that. However, the cameras at the Kings Highway subway station in Gravesend were transmitting live feeds in real time. That's where investigators believe James entered the subway Tuesday morning, just blocks from where the U-Haul van was parked, and 8 subway stops from the 36th Street. So perhaps he rode the train to get to the 36th Street to wreak the havoc, because that is what this commentary is saying, that he entered the subway on Tuesday morning, blocks away from where the U-Haul van was parked, and 8 subway stops from the 36th Street station, and that is where the violence took place. Police were able to get an image of the suspect from a bystander's cell phone video, a law enforcement official told ABC News. Investigators are looking through video from other witnesses and surrounding businesses, hunting for any clues. The fact that these cameras are not working is a large concern, Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso told ABC News Live on Wednesday. There's a lot of work to do in the city now to check every camera, make sure they're all working, and also a deeper dive into what happened and what we can do in the future to ensure this doesn't happen. Subway service at 36th Street Station resumed Wednesday morning. The bloodshed came amid a surge in crime within New York City's transit system. The mayor said he has already doubled the number of police officers patrolling the city's subway stations and is also considering installing special metal detectors in the wake of Tuesday's shooting. But Reynoso said more cops is not necessarily going to solve for this problem. I think there are root causes to this violence that exists, mostly mental health at this point, is what we're seeing in New York City, and that's where we should be spending resources and energy, Reynoso said. More cops to respond to a crime won't necessarily stop the crime. In this case, this individual was inside a train car. Unless you believe that you can put a police officer in every single train car in New York City, which is physically impossible, that's not the way we're going to solve that issue. Anyone with information, videos, or photos related to the shooting is urged to call NYPD Crime Stoppers at 1-800-577-TIPS. Let's rehash this article. ABC News is a source. So cameras were not working, but cameras were working at the Kings Highway subway station where Mr. Frank R. James entered. And he parked the U-Haul blocks from there. Okay, it says, entered the subway Tuesday morning just blocks from where the U-Haul van was parked and 8 subway stops away from the 36th Street. So he brought a van from Philadelphia to New York City, parked it at this Kings Highway subway station, boarded the train, got out at the 36th Street, carrying his packages of doom to harm these innocent citizens. Why? Why did Frank R. James do this? 62-year-old man rambling about things on social media, homelessness, New York City, the mayor. Is he a mental case? Is he schizophrenic? Bipolar? What's wrong with them? What happened? Why? The van didn't have anything of evidentiary material, which I thought it was, but this article says it did not. But they've got him on video, obviously, because the cameras were working at this said Kings Highway subway station. So he's seen entering there. They're also asking you if you have any information or video surveillance to give them that. Please do. Call the New York Crime Stoppers. This is a very baffling story because 9 times out of 10, this will happen again. We've had several mass shootings here in America by children and also adults. And there's something wrong with these people. Hello, everybody in the chat. There's something wrong with you. When you decide to get gear and firecrackers and shrapnel and all of this type of crazy stuff, jump on an airplane and fly it into a building because you're mad at America. Well, a lot of us are mad about something, angry about something, bitter about something. But you don't go out here and start killing people, shooting people, hurting people, building bombs and grenades and cocktails and such. You just deal with it. Recapping everything in this article. All right, let's see what else we have in this article. Metal detectors, will that help? Or more police officers in the subway? They said they have more crime in the subway. What are those crimes? Rape, assault, physical assaults, robbery, what? I'm curious. A couple of years ago, New York was deemed pretty safe. Now, what is the problem? Now with the inflation on the rise, gas high, rent high, there'll probably be more people popping off. It says that he had been living in his U-Haul van. Let's talk about that for just a minute before I play other audio. How long had he been living in the van? Credit card and keys found in his possessions. Subway. So it's as if he left those things on purpose. Why would this man leave the credit card and leave the key to the van? That leads me to believe he doesn't plan on possibly surviving. If you get my drift. Because he knows not to turn the van in, thinking they probably already ID'd me. You left the credit card behind, which means you don't plan on buying anything else or using your credit card, which means to me, you're planning on leaving here. Is it possible that Frank R. James is dead somewhere? That you're now hunting a dead man? That's some very interesting information. The credit card and key left behind. Why? It sounds like somebody who has decided to forfeit their own life. I will now bring you commentary pertaining to yesterday's events. Thank you for joining me. If you want to donate to the channel, $BigAngie129, Cash App. All super chats are welcome during the live. The start of this live is pertaining to Sherri Papini, who's pled guilty to a plea deal of defrauding the great people of California, the Victims Board, exacting a fake kidnapping hoax where she was not kidnapped. I also play you commentary where her ex-boyfriend speaks and tells us she's always been a liar. And then I have this baffling story out of New York City pertaining to terror in a subway car by a Mr. Frank R. James, 62 years of age, deemed an African-American male or black male, whichsoever. I'm now going to play you information by audio. Thank you for joining me. Hello, VZ, Terry, Jackie. Hello. Not trying to ignore any of you. Woo, Lordy, what a mess. As I said, are they looking for a dead man? Former NYPD deputy discusses subway attack investigation. This is by News Nation, uploaded 4 hours ago. Thank you for joining me.
How much time did you spend?
I didn't spend any time. These ass, they kill me.
Look
and how these investigations go following a shooting like this. Joining us right now, Richard Esposito, former NYPD Deputy Commissioner of Strategic Communications. First of all, thank you for joining us. It does have to be so infuriating that the surveillance cameras are not working. What do you make of this?
It is infuriating, and it's always a challenge, communications in the subway. You're underground. It's used by several million people a day. There's no excuse for things not working, but we all know that equipment breaks down. It breaks down in our homes. It breaks down in the subway. In this case, it wouldn't have stopped an attack. What it would have done is help authorities hunt down the man they are now seeking with an intense manhunt.
Well, and some people would say that cameras being in place and the reliability of those cameras could deter more crime on trains and at subway stations, because criminals might know how effective they are at capturing people. But there have to be other cameras in and around that neighborhood, because when you think about it, I mean, that suspect didn't have a lot of avenues to escape from the subway platform. So will it be easy to find him, do you think, or will it be like a needle in a haystack?
You know, manhunts are a challenge. And sometimes they can take a few hours, and sometimes they can take a few weeks. It depends on where the man has gone and how much he remains quiet. So you can be sure they're using all of the tools at their command, which are vast. You know, whether it's checking cell phones, looking at social media, digging deep into the web, credit card checks, neighbors. You know, he's someone who drove in from Philadelphia, lived in Wisconsin, and is clearly known to the FBI. They've had prior involvement with him, and they've checked him in the past. So he's an angry man. He's clearly an angry man. This is something that he certainly was contemplating the subway for some time. He's been, his rants make that clear. So could it have prevented? We've seen a lot of random attacks in the subway in the last 6 months in New York. It's been a challenge for Mayor Adams. It's been a challenge for the police commissioner. There's been attacks by homeless people. There's been robberies. I think the real concern this morning, besides the manhunt, is how do you reassure people? How does Mayor Adams tell people, get on the subway, go to work? We're down 60% of, about 60% of the ridership that they had before COVID.
Mm-hmm. And that's not surprising. In fact, I lived in New York for 5 years up until the past year, moving to Chicago, and I avoided the subway completely. Not that this is about me, but I think a lot of our viewers would wonder, in a city so large, there's this promise now that they're going to flood the system, the subway system, with officers. When we've seen such brazen crime, not only on the subway, but throughout New York City, brazen violence towards officers, is officer just ramping up the number of officers, is that enough?
You know, catching people after they commit a crime is one part of the police job. Stopping people from committing crimes, as you say, Adrian, is another. Is it enough? People are scared. It's not just unease about riding the subway. It is, crime is up in New York, and people have noticed, and a lot of people are challenged. Women are very scared. People of color, Asian Americans, there's such a variety of crimes that are occurring that it is a real challenge for police. You can flood the subway system. You can put a couple of extra thousand cops. We've done that before. You can make sure all the cameras are working, but you've got to get to the heart of it. And there are, many parts to that challenge, whether it's appropriate sentencing, whether it's keeping repeat offenders off the street, whether it's getting to what is it that's causing this crime. In this case, it's practically something that is terrorizing, not terrorism in the sense that we've known it in the past, but this is someone who planned an attack on the subway. He had a gun with 3 magazines, extended magazines. He fired 33 rounds and could have probably fired more than 33 more.
Right.
It is the worst shooting, the worst attack in the history of the subway system, which is exactly well over 100 years old.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I said, this has to be the worst attack on a subway that we've ever heard about. And why doesn't the nation's largest city have a security system in place, like metal detectors at every single subway station? This has to reveal that vulnerability in the system.
you'll listen to people, intelligent people like Commissioner Bratton, who did broken windows policing, and then you'll listen to people on the other side who feel that you should not go after quality of life offenses. You can put in metal detectors. Remember, it's a system that even now has 3 million people a day riding it. That's a lot of people with cell phones, with keys, with all kinds of things in their pockets. And there are tools, but you have to ask just how intrusive do you want police to be? What is it that we're willing to accept? And that's the challenge for police, and that's the challenge for our politicians. What will we do to stop this crime wave? And people need to come to an answer.
Officials do, whoever is the decision makers, voters need to say something, because clearly it is a new day in New York City when something can happen like this. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for your time, Richard.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of news.
All right, everybody. My first source of audio is News Nation. That is a NYPD deputy, former NYPD deputy, discussing what happened yesterday. I want to now play you something else. This is pertaining to a photographer who captured the aftermath of NYC subway shooting in this incident yesterday. News Nation now is source number 2. Thank you for joining me.
People were injured. 10 of those people, those passengers on the subway, were shot. Although so far there are no fatalities. And one of the passengers who was trying to just get onto the trains for his morning commute, Raymond Chiodini, he stepped onto the platform. He heard screams coming from the train car. He witnessed dozens of people running through their lives, smoke coming out of that subway car, victims on the ground, and he pulled out his camera. The images we're showing you on the screen, captured by him, and also capturing the scope of the shooting and the number of people hurt and being helped on that subway platform. Raymond and his mother, Lisa Lynch, joining us by phone this morning. Thank you both for being with us.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having us.
Good morning. Good morning. Raymond, first of all, thank you for, your quick thinking. I know some people would maybe judge, how could you take out your camera at a time like this? But I'm sure that this is helpful, and it's helpful to us because we have to see how serious this was. And with all of the confusion, we didn't know, especially with it being underground. But didn't you actually, when you first got down there, grab somebody who was bleeding and get him out of some of that crowd? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that was more or less one of the first things I did when the doors opened. More or less one of the first things I saw was a man bleeding out on the platform among 10 or 15 other people. He was just the one closest to me. I just grabbed him by his hoodie and threw him into my car just to get him out of foot traffic.
Amazing. And do you know how he's doing this morning? Or you didn't know him? This is just somebody who was there with you or there on the train. No. You grabbed him because you saw him bleeding, and then he hopefully got to medical attention right away or was helped there on the platform. Did you see paramedics come in, or was it mostly just passengers helping each other and holding each other?
For the first 5 minutes, it was just New Yorkers. The first to arrive on scene was fire. 5-10 minutes later.
Wow. Lisa, did you hear about this on the news and know that your son takes this train?
No, I did not. I heard it from my younger son, who was a paramedic, and my oldest son had called him to see if he was working, and he said he didn't. So he told him the story, and then my younger son gave me a call at 9:30 in the morning to tell me what was going on. So I had no idea because it wasn't on the news. I was watching Channel 7 at the time, and it wasn't on the news.
And Raymond, for those looking at these pictures, I mean, you kind of just see the stunning look on people's faces, like they can't believe what's happened. Obviously, there had to be concern that gunman or whoever did this was somewhere in the crowd. Did you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. It was going through my mind the entire time. But after I had assessed there was no immediate threat, I pulled out the camera. And, I just went to work. Unfortunately, it's what I do. So,
you're a freelance photographer. Typically, what kind of pictures are you capturing?
Usually street level things, just people, places out in New York. You know, I'm surrounded by millions of moments a day. So I try and capture that as much as I can.
Yeah. Lisa, when you did find out that your son was somehow caught up in the middle of this, you know, what were your thoughts? Did you get to give him a good hug?
After about 6 hours later, I got to give him a good hug. But throughout the day, I was very emotional because as a mom, you know, he was physically okay, but mentally it was very traumatic. So going through that for 6 hours was very tough for me. But when I did see him, I think we hugged for about 10 minutes.
I'm so glad to hear that. And I'm so glad that you're okay. And Raymond, from what you did see, your mom saying, you know, this was traumatic, clearly the look of terror on some of these folks' faces after going through something like this, it has to hit you too.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks a lot. You know, obviously I wish myself and anybody included didn't have to go through a lot, you know, yesterday morning, but it's unfortunate. It happens. And this is where we are, you know.
Will you ride the train again?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be incredibly hesitant to get back on that train tomorrow morning. But if I'd like to keep my job, that's the way it's going to go. It's my commute.
That's the reality. Yeah, a lot of people in New York, they rely on the trains, and hopefully they get a lot safer because we can't have something like this happen again. Our thanks to you, Raymond, and your mom, Lisa. Thanks for being with us, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Take
Have
care.
a good morning. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Have a great day and a great week. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the
All right,
subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's fact-driven.
News Nation, source number 2. Thank you all so much for joining me. Speaking to people who were visible at the said crime. My last source is CBS New York. Exclusive video appears to show a Brooklyn subway shooting suspect. This was uploaded 1 hour ago. Thank you so much for joining me.
Continue to follow breaking news. I'm Natalie Duddridge in Gravesend, Brooklyn. CBS 2 has obtained surveillance video. The video shows the suspect wearing a reflective vest, wheeling a cart down the street and carrying a bag. Police suspect James opened fire on the subway, shooting 10 people. The NYPD has also just released new images of James. There's a $50,000 reward in this case. I'm Natalie Duddridge for CBS New York.
All right. CBS New York. So now they have video surveillance of this said perpetrator entering the subway, carrying his bag of doom and pull cart with him. Who is Frank R. James? Where is he today? Will they find him? Will he even be alive if they do find him? Because the fact that he left the key behind to the van and a credit card, assumingly a working credit card, he doesn't plan to turn himself in. Because why would I leave my credit card behind? Why did he leave the key to the van behind? He also left the gun behind, for those of you who have not been following the content pertaining to this story. He left a gun behind. So one would have to ask, did he wear gloves when he fired from the said gun? 33 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. So that means he planned to wreak havoc. It said the gun jammed. I'm assuming this is from eyewitnesses who were on the train. And where was he on the train? When he threw the cocktail in, where was he at that time? Did he throw the cocktail out near one of the exit doors when you cross over to the next train? What are we talking about here? Who is this man and why did he exact this crime yesterday morning in New York City? Will he be alive? Because that's the ultimate question now, is where is Frank R. James? What was the motive for yesterday's events? And will he be alive if and when apprehended by law officials? He seems to be waddling in the video that has been shown in this commentary. Doesn't look like somebody that would be running for his life, literally, if you get my drift. So, Mr. James, what is the problem? Once again, I'm going to ask you because you wanted to get your 5 minutes of fame, so now you have it, obviously. Why did you go in that subway car, shoot those people? smoke bomb where people can't see, panic, stumble over each other, trample over each other. They could have killed each other just trampling over one another, trying to get out of there. But that's what you wanted to see, right? So did you even lie in wait somewhere and watch everything go on? Did you know that that subway station didn't have cameras? Had you been planning this for some time? How long had you been planning this horrific crime? Because I find it interesting there were no cameras in the very station you would go in and shoot people. But yet the one where you initially enter into had cameras. And you obviously did not care to be seen garbed up in your gear. And at the end of the day, when you got done doing whatever you were doing in that subway, you left behind a credit card, a gun, and the keys to the van. Why? This leads me to believe you did not plan to continue on with life. That's what I believe. You have no intention of living. Because when you left the Glock, if it's not stolen, that means you either bought it from somebody, bought it somewhere, or it's registered in your name. I don't know. 2, you left behind a credit card, which obviously has your name on it, I'm assuming. And then you left the key to the van, and the van has been checked, and it comes back to your government name, Frank R. James. So that leads me to believe you do not plan on living. You were giving the police ammunition to know who you are. And information I played in this commentary alludes to the fact that you were sleeping in the said U-Haul van. So how long had you been sleeping in the van, sir? When did you rent the van? Why did you rent the van? Was it for the sole purpose of what you did yesterday in the subway? Or had you been living in the van because you didn't have anywhere to stay? Is this an issue of you being evicted from wherever you lived? Did you lose your house? Mortgage too high? Your rent was upgraded. What is your story, sir? What is your story? You're mad about homelessness. You're mad at the mayor of New York. You're mad at the city of New York. And as it has been said, they have an uptick of crime in the past 6 months in the subway itself. What are those said crimes? Robbery, assault, groping, what? Physical assaults, sexual assaults, what are we talking about? And why in the subway? Because possibly they know they can get away with it better down there. It's a hole down there. That's why I said I don't really care for any of it. Subway or going up on the top rack to catch a train. For those who are not familiar with city living, it is the means and ways of getting around the city besides Uber, bus, train, or walking, or driving if you can stand to drive. What will the city of New York City do now as far as surveillance in the subway? Will they get metal detectors? Will they hire security and or use their own police officers to readily be available in the subway? Will they also have them ride the trains? Because, see, crime can take place either way. Going in the subway, going down the stairs, waiting on the train, entering the train. So what are we talking about? More police officers walking the beat down on the platform and or riding the trains. 2 officers per car or 1 officer per car. This is atrocious that we have this going on in America. But that's another thing that was mentioned. Even if we put all these officers in the subway, it has nothing to do with the mindset of a civilian, which is true. You don't have control over the mindset. Because just as quick as you put all these people down in the subway, somebody will say, well, I'll just go to the top of the street and rob somebody, hurt somebody. Because a fool is a fool. And if they want to hurt somebody, it doesn't have to necessarily be in the subway. It could be on a public street. Very, very sickening for law officials to have to put out a bulletin on this male once person of interest yesterday and now a suspect, because obviously they've done a little GPS tracking, social media posts, tracking the van, tracking his whereabouts through surveillance and other surveillance and videos. And the one thing I want to address is what was said in this commentary when the reporter was talking to the guy filming. I noticed that yesterday, that people were filming people coming out of the train car, which bothered me, because this is a serious situation. So you just so happen to see people coming out of a smoky car and you decide to pull out your cell phone and film it. You see, there's a flip of the coin with this social media madness. You are needing to preserve life, which is your own. And you're pulling out your cell phone trying to film this event. So we can weigh this two ways. One, it's great to see what happened if you like the macabre. Great investigative tool in case the suspect runs in or out. But the flip side is you could have been trampled standing there filming people running out of a car. Hurt, knocked down, especially when you didn't know what the hell was going on. It would be foolish to stand there and film when you don't know what's going on. You don't know who's on the train exacting this crime. You don't know if it's more than one person. You don't know if they would come out and start shooting the people coming out of the damn car. You have to think. So really, it's foolish to film a chaotic scene, especially when you don't know what's going on. If I see smoke coming out of the doors, people running out, hollering, screaming, and bleeding, what in God's name why would I pull out my phone to film? Because common sense would mean I'm standing at the platform to do what exactly? Board the train. Well, I can't board the train because people are running out. It's smoky, so that means something's wrong. Stay woke now. So whoever got this, filmed this video, you are brazen as hell. Because it seems like to me, you would be taking off running for cover. Because you didn't know what the hell was going on that car. And as the woman said in this commentary, the reporter, I realize you want to film this event, historical event. Those are my words. But my goodness, this is how people get hurt. Because really, this is what happened at the concert out in Texas a few months ago. Young people got suffocated to death by people pushing and shoving and squeezing people literally to death. The outside arena, trying to get close to the stage of the performer. Same thing that's happened in Chicago many years ago at a nightclub. Someone starts shooting, everybody starts running towards the door, which would lead one to believe there was only one way in and one way out. I do not know. But the patron's going to run out the way they came. It's common sense. So people trampled over one another, trying to get out. And this has happened in many places, how people end up dying, not from a shooter, but to be trampled to death. That's why it's really not good to go in mass crowds for events where you can't get yourself out in case of an emergency. Who wants to be squeezed to death? Think about that for a second. How terrible that would have been for those who perished at that event in Texas. I believe it's the Astro, whatever, music festival. Now you're on a train, minding your business. Smoke fills the train because somebody's thrown a cocktail in there with you. Where was he? Where was the perpetrator when he let off the smoke bomb and the gunfire? How did he get out? Did he exit out one of the car doors? Not the main sliding doors, but the ones that go from car to car, the back doors. Because those who don't ride the train would not know that the car literally has 3 doors. One is an entry door, which are sliding doors, and 1 door on either side of the car to exit into the next car. And that's something I've never liked to do when I rode the L in Chicago, was cross over while the train was moving to go into the next car. I don't care if the train I went in was full. I ain't crossing through those doors because Queen 1 don't like heights. And I ain't crossing over nothing that's moving because anything can happen. Where was the shooter after throwing the smoke bomb in the car and shooting the victims? Which exit did he remove himself from? And did he go into another car and exit out of another car and back out into the subway and up the steps? Where is Frank R. James? And has he ended his life? Because it looks to me that would be the plan. To leave behind a gun, van keys, and also a credit card at the scene. Basically leaving his calling card. Here I am. Now come find me. Very baffling, sick, diabolical mind and events to be so brazen to go into a subway or really anywhere and throw off smoke bombs and shoot people. And I do believe he possibly planned to do more. But the thing about doing these types of crimes, your adrenaline is rushing and you're hyped up in doing it. You were hyped up before doing it, hyped up in thinking about doing it. And then in the moment, you're doing it hyped up and you're ready to get out of there as to not be apprehended. Because you're going to want to revel in it and sit back and watch your handiwork. So is it possible that Frank R. James stood somewhere, changed out of the gear, and watched people running out of the subway, panicking? Or did he get on to where he needed to go, change out of his garb? Is Frank R. James married? Is he a father? Has children? Big family? People that know him, what do they have to say about this machine? How many people will come forward with the testimony pertaining to Frank R. James? Tell us who he is, what he's mad about, angry about. If he was a good person, bad person that flipped out. Who is he? And why did he exact this crime in the subway yesterday in New York City? What will New York City now do to curb the crime in the subway and the city itself? They said the riding patronage has gone down. Many people are not riding the train. So how are people getting to work that live in New York City that refuse to drive and or don't drive? Uptick of crime in the subway the past 6 months. Why is that? Are people just losing their damn minds and do not know how to cope with life, mad, bitter, thirsty, greedy, hungry, and they're willing to do whatever they have to do to survive? Or are we talking about a mixture of thirst, hunger, greed, and mental illness all wrapped into one? Because you do have a lot of mentally ill people roaming the streets, period. And in big cities, you have a lot of mentally ill people. That's why you have such random, ferocious crimes of people picking on each other, sticking each other with pins and needles, going by slapping people. There was a time a few years ago, people were running up to people, hitting them and stealing their phones from them. The stupidest thing I've ever heard. Punching somebody and stealing their damn cell phone. Running up to somebody, just punching them. Why? They haven't done anything to you. They haven't said anything to get out of the way. You're just going to go up and punch somebody because you could. Now somebody's got to try to find you, hunt you down. Same thing a year ago. I brought you information from a man who was punching elderly Korean people in San Francisco. I believe it was San Francisco. Why? Why are you hitting elderly people? And they all were Korean, which means he had a problem with Korean people. So what? You don't like them? You don't know them. And they hit an elderly person for no damn reason. You are really sick. You are really sick. The nice-looking realtor in Florida shooting the homeless people. He had done this for a while, over a year or two. Nobody even knew who he was. And they found him on surveillance. Stunned, I'm sure, Floridians, police department. Why is this nice-looking guy, mid-20s, decent job, killing homeless people? For what reason? You have no reason to be running around shooting people. It's crazy. And people were stunned because I was stunned when I saw his picture. I said, oh, they have got to have this wrong. This cannot be the perpetrator. There's no way. They've got the wrong person. Absolutely crazy. And now he's in jail shooting random homeless people. It's absolutely insane. I thank you all for joining me. When I get more information pertaining to Frank R. James, I will bring you the said commentary. When I get more information on Sherri Papini, who has pled guilty to kidnapping hoax out of California, I will give you that said information. I pray that she gets several years in jail because she deserves to be in there because of what she did. It was wrong. And Frank R. James, wherever you are, please turn yourself in because you're wasting taxpayers' money chasing you around trying to find you. I don't think you're alive, quite frankly. If you're alive, it'd be a mystery. But anyway, we're going to find out what law officials have, and I'll bring you that said information. Hello, Tracy. How you doing? If you want to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. I'll super chat to welcome through the live. My next live will be pertaining to the case of Summer Wells. In 2 days, it will be the anniversary of when her parents called the 911 dispatch to say their child was missing out of Rogersville, Tennessee. We will chop up the latest gossip pertaining to her mother, who just will not stay off of YouTube, talking and ranting and raving. Then I will also bring forth my dream I had pertaining to Summer Wells for those who hadn't heard of it. Thank you all so much. God bless all of you. Stay safe. Happy Easter. Happy Hump Day. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Bye.